Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Kia ora, Chewy, sir. How are you, love? You're looking a bit pooped
Hi,
there.
Pat. It's been a big old day. Oh, I haven't got much gas left in my tank, I tell you. Oh,
Yeah, so for people who don't know, I was driving home. You don't know this part. You don't know I was driving home part, but the actual news story that's going to be aligned with my driving home. Got a phone call from the missus saying, hey, the internet's out. And I'm always like, oh, shit, did I forget to pay the bill? I pay my bill on automatic payment, so I never do, but it's always the first thought in my head. Had a look, it was fine, got home. Last time, Chewy, the internet went out, I had turned off the router by accident. Our router sits on the floor and it had tipped over and the power button on the back. So I checked all that kind of stupid stuff first. Didn't seem to be working, so I picked up the phone and dialed Vodafone, One New Zealand, and said, hey, internet's not going. Without even looking at my details, the guy went, are you in Dunedin? You know, that's not a good sign when the first words out of his mouth are you in Dunedin? And I went, yep. And he goes, I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, okay, what's going on? And apparently he didn't have the information then, but we found subsequently, I believe there were rodents who ate through a fibre, and on the same day, maybe council workers severed the fibre. So in two separate places, knocking out basically all the fibre for Southland and Otago. We were out until about 5:30. So I've been rushing on my feet since then. But Chewy, I assuming you were rushed off your feet during the outage.
I work for a telco company. I won't say which one, but yeah, the network I work for was not as heavily affected by what happened. But oh shit, we noticed it in the store. We had people going, hey, I'm not with you guys, but I haven't got any signal. Do you know what's going on? No. And half an hour later, we had started to piece it together. I saw a post on Reddit or something like that, and it was like that. At that point, someone from 1NZ ran into our shops and he goes, hi guys, you probably already know this, but this happened. And we're like, yeah, we've worked it out. Looks bad. He goes, it's the worst. Our whole shop is full of angry people. I'm telling everyone. I'm like, oh, okay. Are you going back to the shop? And he looks at me with just the saddest eyes I have ever seen. And he goes, maybe not. Maybe I'll just keep walking and no one will ever see me again. But look, hey, we like to think that we're nice, resilient people that can deal with, we're tough. We're Southerners. We can deal with adversity. No, we can't. No, we can't. We can't get on the TikToks. We were mere minutes away from a Mad Max type existence, I swear.
I was interested as well because I thought, let's go to the supermarket. And then I went, supermarket, credit cards, internet, and thought maybe, so it was a pretty big outage. And so anyway, as most of you know, and I'll show you some footage shortly, and before the end of the show, Craig Rennie's podcast starts tomorrow. It will be uploaded/downloaded at 4 a.m. so everybody can get it tomorrow morning when they wake up. And of course, me and Craig had some recording to do today. And guess what we couldn't do? Recording. So had to wait. So yeah, I'm sorry if it feels a bit higgledy-piggledy this evening, but basically my whole afternoon has been filled with not really doing much. And then all of a sudden from about 5 o'clock, prepping for this show, recording Craig, editing Craig. I haven't uploaded his stuff yet. I'll be doing that at 11 o'clock tonight because I haven't made the thumbnail yet because I couldn't get online to get my assets to make the thumbnail, and on 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 it goes. But don't panic. we will get it there for you. It will be up and running by tomorrow. So yeah, crazy busy old day. And yeah, the guy from One New Zealand I spoke to, who was on the phone, obviously, was the look you're describing in that guy's eyes. I could hear it in his voice. Yeah.
The one thing I will say, and this is just, it's not one particular network. It's just a question of our national infrastructure and how it deals with this sort of stuff. So a rat and a backhoe meant that for a while, nobody in Otago or Southland could call 111. This is a problem that we have. This is a problem we have not had before because we're getting rid of the copper network.
Of course.
One of the copper is old. Like some of the cables that are out there for the copper network, 103 years old. But it was one of the things that in a power cut, a copper phone line would still work. You could still contact it. But now it's fiber. It's a couple of cables. And sometimes we have microwave relays for redundancy. I remember a few years back when there's big flooding around Ashburton and Christchurch, and it almost washed out a bridge, took out the main fiber connection south of Ashburton, and they were like, oh, we better put some more redundancy in there. And this is what we had: a rat, and then an hour later a backhoe, and we're cut off. So yeah, hopefully somebody's sitting here going, more redundancy.
Yeah. All right. So welcome to the show. So glad you're with us. Tonight we're going to have a look at a few stories around the health system. Dr. Gary Payinda is about to join us to do a couple of those. One based on what Simeon Brown said yesterday and one based on what Simeon Brown said today. I think they're two separate stories for one little man. Also, some slashing to the Reserve Bank funding by this government. And a little bit of a story that if you guys are like me and you follow sort of internet news and you watch some American punters, you may have heard about it. But Douglas Murray has revealed his grift and his hypocrisy once again around issues. I think it was my camera again. Woohoo! Trouble with my camera tonight. And I want to show to you what he got up to and what Dave Smith, comedian's been saying about it as well. There we go. I'm back again, Joey. I don't know why it goes to widescreen like that, but here you go. So let's start off the show tonight by welcoming in a good friend of the show, Dr. Gary Payinda. Gary, good evening to you, sir.
Hi, guys. Hi, Pat. Hi, Chewy. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Your T-shirt sings of a sunny, happy person, but there's a few grumpiness in the health industry as of a long term. But what I thought we could maybe do was, there's sort of two stories out at the moment. And the first one is one that we actually covered yesterday. And Chewy pointed out when Simeon Brown basically tried to get the public on side by saying these doctors earn $340,000, meaning they've got enough. They don't need any more. Well, one of the stories that came out today, of course, we asked the question last night as to how much does Simeon earn and what are his qualifications. But now we're finding out that the claims by the Health Minister, Simeon Brown, that senior doctors were paid on average salary of $343,000. I've had a deluge of emails from our members saying that they earn that much money, there would be no strike action. I'm not sure where he's found the number from he's citing. She said the average salary for a senior doctor was closer to $240, which is still a good chunk of change, but that's not the point. Senior doctors at the top end of the salary scale in New Zealand were being paid less than their counterparts at the bottom end of the New South Wales scale. Dalton said, we are bleeding people to Australia. And I know there's a couple of things to talk about. Also, the announcements made today around building better hospitals, because everything's a radio promotion to these guys. But before we get there, Gary, love to get your thoughts on the strike action. Would like to know from your perspective as well, the reason for the strike, what you're doing, all of the above, sir.
Yeah, that's a lot of issues to talk about, but I think, if we take them one at a time, I think we can get somewhere. The first one you mentioned, so Simeon loves to say that the average doctor, public medical specialist, is making, what does he say, 343,000 or something like that. And it's interesting how he might have come up with that number, because that obviously doesn't really jive with the income any of us are making. I can't speak for everyone, but I can speak for my colleagues and people I know, and the many people that have commented back in public medicine. There's, I don't want to accuse him of lying or manipulation. I don't know. All I can tell you, if you want a straight answer, and I only want to deal in straight answers and facts, is you can go look up something called the SECA, the SECA. I don't even know what it stands for, but it's the salary list that shows you exactly how much medical specialists in this country get that are working in the public system, you know, salaried medical specialists. So if you look, it'll have 15 steps, 15 levels. And when you come out of training, you'd be on level 1 or step 1. And 15 years later, as you've gotten seniority and experience and assume a senior role in your department, you'd probably be on step 15. And then if you stay longer than that, your salary doesn't keep going up. So step 1 is $185,380. So a medical specialist, that's how much they make at step 1. By step 15, the maximum you can make is $267,980. So sorry, $267,980. So I assume he gets his 340 by adding up an imaginary concoction of annual leave and continuing medical education and sabbatical pay and maybe other benefits, medical books that we can buy, medical conferences we can go to with an allotment of continuing medical education money. That's what I assume. He also really talks a lot. He loves saying this, that doctors get sabbaticals every 6 years. In our SECA contract, our medical contract for the public doctors, we do have the ability to take 3-month sabbatical every 6 years. And the point of that would be, like, for example, you could do a course in infectious diseases somewhere. Yeah. My wife went to South Sudan to volunteer with Médecins Sans Frontières, right? Doctors Without Borders. So it's a chance to refresh your hope and life and interest in society and helping and do something different, and then come back to your medical practice in the public refreshed and engaged and maybe more educated, and maybe use that time to get up to speed on a aspect of medicine. So Simeon wants to say that these essentially lazy doctors are getting all this time off. And so again, 12 weeks every 6 years. I've been working in Northland for 17 years now. So by that logic, if you do the math, in another year, I should be able to have my third 3-month sabbatical. I've taken one in 17 years. The vast majority of medical specialists in the public system have not taken a sabbatical.
Right.
To go away for that long when your department is profoundly understaffed is not realistic. I could by my contract, by the law, I could insist on it. But most of us don't want to screw our departments and our colleagues. And because when we leave for, even just for annual leave, there isn't like excess staff to absorb the demand. Someone's still got to run the clinics and see the patients and do the procedures. And so Simeon has no health experience whatsoever, right? He has no idea what it's like to be a healthcare worker or a doctor, nurse, any of that. There's no respect for him within the group of doctors and allied health and nurses. Okay, don't exaggerate. There's not none. He probably has maybe an aficionado here or there, but the vast majority of doctors and nurses and allied health staff that I have ever talked to, and I talk to a lot of people at the hospital and across many hospitals across New Zealand for my various roles, we do not have a significant amount of respect for what he says, what his actions are, what he does, or how he runs things. He may think that we're taking sabbaticals left and right, and it just shows you how utterly clueless he is. He has no idea. The reality is that we can't take them because doing so, even though we're contractually able to, doing so would screw our departments and ultimately hurt patients. And we'd shut down our practices for too long to do that. So he lives in a dream world. And the things he says, he can get away with saying with absolute impunity because no one is there when he says this bullshit. And yeah, I, for one, am tired of it. And I'm gonna directly confront his comments and his lies at every juncture. And because they come out so frequently, that may end up being every day. I don't mind it becoming a side mission for me because someone needs to speak out against this. I mean, people are. ASMS, Sarah Dalton, and all the leaders at ASMS have been. But the pace of the BS that comes out of this current government towards healthcare workers, whether you've got the future deputy minister calling us Muppets that should be put back in our box, right? That's how he referred to public health physicians who have dedicated their lives to trying to reduce outbreaks and ensure clean water and healthy communities and all of that stuff. We've talked about it before on the show. But yeah, suffice it to say, what we get paid is in the public. You could Google it right now, and in about 10 seconds, you can see. And the really interesting thing to point out, and I don't want to be in this position of like trying to defend highly paid people when the real issue is understaffing and patients not getting care. But because he's got to put these lies out, someone has to say something. So I want to point out to you that Simeon Brown, the health minister, his only health experience is founding an anti-abortion group at the University of Auckland. That's the closest he's gotten to healthcare, and being the spokesman for a group that is anti-family planning. I do not understand how that is even a thing, but the man was the spokesman of an anti-family planning group. That's the closest he's got to a healthcare experience, basically trying to stand in the way and obstruct women's healthcare. So this man has become health minister, and he's criticizing doctors for their pay. Simeon Brown has a degree in finance, business, something like that. Presumably a 3-year degree. I wouldn't expect it to be more, maybe 4, probably 3. So he's in uni for 3 years, works as a bank teller or a bank employee for a few years, and then becomes a career politician. That man is making $327,000 a year as a cabinet minister. You know, he's the minister for health, making $327,000. That is almost twice as much as a medical specialist doctor is going to make in their first year out of training. The difference, though, is that that doctor will be providing an essential service to society in a way that Simeon could only dream of. The difference is that Simeon, with his 3 years of post-high school education, came out at a young age. And the difference is that that medical specialist worked for 13 years in study and in medical training before they could even call themselves a specialist. That's 13 years after graduating year 13 high school. So these people have been in study and in hard work, working their asses off in many cases, most cases, I would say, really trying to do the best for their patients and getting out of training at age 32. I don't know how old you guys are, but if you're a specialist doctor, on average, you are finishing your training at age 32. And think about this, you will be leaving that training, becoming a specialist, earning half of what Simeon Brown earns, and being told that you make too much as a public servant, okay? You may be a pediatric surgeon, you might be a radiologist, you might be an emergency doctor, and you are being told that essentially to stay in your place and to accept a contract for payment that is less than the cost of inflation. Inflation right now is 2.2%. In a couple of years ago, it was much higher, 5, 6, 7%. Inflation in healthcare even worse. But let's even go with the best number, 2.2. As our union has said, the government, Simeon, etc., Luxon, all of them, have proposed a total package of remuneration, a pay package with benefits and all the rest, that is around 1 to 1.5%. Okay, so less than the cost, less than the price of inflation. And this guy is telling us that we should accept the negotiation, that we're too highly paid. This hypocrisy, I don't know, is anyone in media other than you guys calling this out? This is insulting. I was on Ruth Hill for like a 5-second little blurb. So, I mean, there are some voices that are looking into this, and I respect them and value them and say thank you to Ruth Hill and you guys and everyone else that's been on the side of just openness. But, I mean, look at this travesty. The people in the union will tell you that a doctor on the highest step, so the senior doctor in their department, on step 15, who's been there for ages, been within the public system, committed to public patients and the service of the public, they're making less at their top step than a brand new graduate going into the medical specialty system in Australia. So a first year grad. So if you wonder why we're losing good people to Australia, and you don't have to look too far to realize that with a 3-hour flight, we could be making 40% more, literally the same day if we wanted. It's easy to get registration. Most of us could do it no problem, but we don't, because we love New Zealand. We love working in New Zealand. We love our patients. And we find what we do highly rewarding and valuable. That's why we stay in public. And Simeon,
I take the silence. I take the
nothing
silence
but contempt. Has nothing but contempt for it, is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and that's a very almost polite professional way to say it. I understand. I bet it feels different to be thinking what you're thinking, but saying what you're saying because you're sort of part of this. Do you want to explain to us? So he's trying to sell the idea that these doctors in New Zealand are paid too much. It reminded me as well. Remember, Luxon also came out saying nurses were earning 120K. So they have form in this. That he's coming out trying to say doctors are earning too much, and if you go on strike, you're going to hurt the patients. Do you just want to give us a couple of minutes to synopsize on why the senior doctors are actually going on strike from a senior doctor's point of view?
Yeah, I mean, to insinuate that we are the ones hurting patients. Look, the reason I strike is not about the money. The money is the only lever I have, other than Twitter, other than chatting with you guys. It's the only lever I have to affect change within the system. our entreaties, our pleas have fallen on deaf ears. We've been, the modern term is gaslighted, but basically just bullshitted to, saying that things are better than they are. We tell them there's a hiring freeze. Could you stop the hiring freeze? We have really critical situations where patients are dying and there's no doctor at these doctorless hospitals to manage the resuscitation. This is real things. And in the case I'm thinking of, the nurses went on like a 1 day or half day action, like a strike, something like that, to say that they felt unsafe. Why? Because it was unsafe. And the strike is like the one thing we can do that might affect government, might affect these dead in the head politicians who have no souls, who are ideological and essentially have no experience in health and no humanity. So what can we do but strike? For me, and other people may feel differently. Other people may feel the money's a really huge issue and that's the focus. But the people I talk to, my colleagues, the problem is the understaffing. The problem is that I have to go, and my colleagues and many emergency doctors around the country and other doctors go into a room and the first words out of our mouth are, "We are sorry." You know, you introduce yourself and you say, "I'm sorry that it's taken me 4.5 hours to see you. It wasn't my intention. We're very busy." Now, we don't tell them the full honest truth, which is we are so badly staffed. We do not have sonographers to do the ultrasounds. There are not enough people doing CTs. We do not have the MRI machine going as often as it needs to because we don't have the staffing for it. We've got surgeons that David Bailey of obstetrics and gynecology has said to you that he has women who have been waiting over a year for surgery. They've got pelvic pain, chronic bleeding, and they're made to wait. And he went to them and said he and his colleagues can do surgeries on the weekends, on Saturday catch-up lists. He did say, of course, you'd have to pay us for that. I mean, that's pretty legit to think you wouldn't have to work 6 days a week and the sixth one for free. He said, pay us and please hire a theater nurse to run the theater, to help out in the operating room. And they said no, they wouldn't do that, but they would give $50 million for patients to be seen in private. 10,579 private cases, surgeries, procedures to be done in private, sucking the surgeons away from public into private, sucking the anesthetists with them, sucking all that resource that should have gone to paying for the theater nurse, the new CT scanner to replace our decrepit one, fixing up our infrastructure. Instead, what you will have is a private sector that gets more and more enriched at the expense of the public. This is the solution of these intellectually bankrupt leaders. Privatization is their answer, not rebuilding a public health service that takes care of people. So I don't know what to tell you. I guess does that answer your question?
And then some. I think it's also a bit of a good lead into the second kind of conversation, which is coming up today, because you're talking about public money going to the private sector. We've had an announcement today that we're going to get some infrastructure built, but there is also, always that caveat with the Tories that, the private sector is going to help us be able to do this. If we watch this 3-minute clip, then maybe you can comment on that and get your thoughts around that, if that's okay. So this is one news tonight.
Thinking. That's the promise from the Health Minister as he unveils a plan for future infrastructure development. The issue, our ageing healthcare real estate. There are 1,200 buildings across 8.
And as you always say, Chewy, they identify the problem. They identify the problem. It's their solutions
I'm so good at it.
that seem wanting.
56 campuses with the average age 47 years. And that means a need for major repair work to avoid disrupting services. Some buildings have poor earthquake ratings and are outdated for modern care work. The government is calling the fix building hospitals better. The plan, set over 10 years, is to move away from mega builds to more financially manageable staged projects that develop hospital sites over time. The hope is that patients will get the benefits sooner and there's greater certainty around delivery and costs. It includes new acute services buildings, inpatient units, and expanded emergency departments and wards. It'll take $20 billion. So how to pay for it? Corazon Miller has more.
The vital signs of our hospitals and health clinics are in decline, but Simeon Brown says he has a plan for resuscitation.
It outlines what needs to be done and how we would do it, ensuring New Zealanders have access to modern, safe and reliable health infrastructure.
It's critical for us. It's signalling an uplift in investment to address the long-standing deficit in infrastructure.
The money to address the deficit will be set aside across several budgets.
New Zealand has got into a deficit with health infrastructure over a period of many, many years. We won't be able to fix it overnight.
Making it clear for the $20 billion makeover to happen as planned, significant private investment still required.
We're open to all types of funding and financing opportunities to deliver the health infrastructure that we need.
By having the pipeline, we're starting to see what is needed over a period of time and will give investors and local construction companies opportunity to build up capability.
It's hoped the shift to smaller builds will also help see projects delivered at greater speed and within budgets. Among those that have already been given the green light, a new hospital in Auckland's rapidly growing south. And after some delays, the construction of Dunedin's new hospital will soon be underway.
Works will recommence on the new Dunedin hospital site the middle of this year.
It's all talk from the government at this point. I think we want to see some action. So far, all they've done is slow down action to rebuild our hospitals.
Other projects being eyed up include the revamp of emergency departments, seismic strengthening, and the purchasing of land for future builds. But there are questions over how the government will deliver what's needed without a similar investment in the workforce.
We need more doctors. You cannot just build a facility and hope that will take care of the healthcare for a community.
This plan says it wants to upgrade IT systems. It's hard to take that seriously, given they're getting rid of IT specialists at hospitals all over New Zealand.
While a plan is one thing, the government now needs to make its vision of better health services a reality.
So there you go, building better hospitals on Auckland's 91.8 More FM. I assume it's a radio promotion. And concerns by many around, if we have these buildings, how do we staff it? And what does private investment mean in this public system? Gary.
Talk is cheap, words are meaningless, and all we should care about are actions and real things that are delivered to patients. So they can say whatever they want, but the words are good. So the words they are mouthing are good. So they're going to rebuild, refurbish, additional. It all sounds wonderful, like fantastic, good on them, excellent. Put the money towards it and make it happen. The reason I have little faith in it happening in a productive way is because I know that they've pushed a couple different things that are getting us further away from equitable, good, effective public health care, cost-efficient public health care. One simple example is they're very good at making targets, right? We're going to have a target for ED, a target for a first specialist appointment. But what you see is that they don't make a target for filling the understaffed nursing roles. They don't have a target. They don't even want to talk about the actual number. The number is probably somewhere in the vicinity of 3,000 nurses and approximately 2,000 doctors that we right now at this moment are understaffed by. That does not count the almost double than that number that will be retiring in the next 10 years. It doesn't talk about meeting unmet need due to poverty and other things in the community and an aging population. Literally right now, today, we're approximately 2,000 doctors down, approximately 3,000 nurses down. That should be the target. That should be the number that they get us closer to. But of course, that's conveniently, that's not a target. They will put a target on something like first specialist appointments, which sound wonderful. Like I get to see my cancer specialist in a timely fashion. Excellent target. But what the oncologists are telling me is that the slots for the patients to be seen on their first specialist appointment come from eliminating second and third and subsequent follow-up appointments for people, delaying them. So we've got oncologists that are pulling their hair out because they do get the patients prioritized into a first visit, but they're not able to then see what's happened to them after they've started the chemo in a timely fashion. So they want to see them within 3 months. It is just not happening. And of course, there's no target associated with that. And so months and months and months are going by, and these oncologists don't know if their patients are responding to chemotherapy or not. And it's not just oncology. I just use that as one example. We have grave situations happening in ophthalmology with patients going blind due to an inability to get them back in, due to not having enough staff to get their injections or Avastin injections for things like macular degeneration. We've got Middlemore Hospital, which has now had deaths in the waiting room, plural, with an unbelievable amount of unmet need there. The need for staff is overwhelming. They are pushing 450 patients in a 24-hour period. This winter, they will probably crack 500. And what they need is staff, and they need staff now. And what they're not getting is staff. We know that there's a nationwide hiring freeze, but the government will this is why words don't matter. The things they say don't matter, because we tell them there's a hiring freeze. Managers are telling me they're going in with dozens of positions that they need to get filled, and they're hearing nothing back, or they're being told 2 positions out of 45. That's how many you can hire. So there's just a disconnect between actions and words. Malcolm Mulholland, I just spoke at a road show he was doing around the country. It came to my town a few days ago, and Patient Voice Aotearoa, I think is the name of his organization. He's a good guy that, his wife died of metastatic cancer. She fought hard to try to get chemotherapy drugs to be funded. And since then, he has fought on her behalf and on behalf of all the other patients to get increased funding to Pharmac. And he's had some success with that, some real good success. Now he's turned his vision towards like the clear and present danger of understaffing in the country, poor infrastructure. And that's who you heard talking. We need more doctors. It's not rocket science how you get them. If you're hemorrhaging them to Australia, if you're not paying them enough, but most especially if you are making them do the work of 1.4 or 1.6 doctors, which is the standard really now. Throughout the country, we've got 10 to 45% vacancies in medical departments for doctors. Can you imagine working in a medical department that's lacking about 1/3 of its doctors? You are busting your butt every day to barely keep your head above water, and even then at times not. And so they can announce all the targets they want, all the plans. What was the name they gave to this? Build better stuff.
Building hospitals better or some stupid.
Yeah, okay. Building hospitals better. It's a great idea. Like, who wouldn't support that? But now fix the staffing problem, show you're putting money into it. Like at my hospital, they talk a lot about the rebuild, but they've broken it up into multiple stages, and the stage that actually gets us, the 158 bed patient tower, like where the medical and surgical wards will be, where the patients will sleep, that hasn't been received any money yet. So they say it'll be operational by 2032, but they've not put their money where their mouth is. And so do I believe it'll get built and on time? Certainly not. But surprise me, Simeon, knock my socks off. Show that you've allocated funding towards it and that it's started. And of course, then I'll believe you. At this point, we should believe nothing they say, but we should believe everything they do. So if they achieve good things, we should respect that and give them due credit for it. So those are my thoughts on that. I liked how that person pointed out IT. The government has said they value IT. They understand that our system is broken and fragmented across 23 DHBs, that I can't look up labs or CT scans or cancer history, medication histories on any patients outside my region. It's absurd. There's a duplication of studies that has to happen, a waste of money. It's unsafe. Certainly there's patient harm. And so the government will say, yeah, this is a clear and present danger. And what do? The plan that was in place for several years that work had been begun on to modernize and centralize information technology, the computer system that we use in healthcare, was canceled by them. They canceled it, took the money for other things. What other things? $216 million for Philip Morris Tobacco Company, $2.9 billion for property investors to help make their mortgages more affordable than yours. And you just simply someone has to confront him. Please, can you guys get me some time with him? I want to talk to him.
Would love to. We'll do our best. Would love to, Gary. They don't want to come and even talk to us, and we're only like 1/10 as scary as you are, my friend.
So I want to know why they don't reverse the property investor scheme that sees taxpayer money go to making mortgages more affordable for landlords. As I've always said, if you want to exempt the poor little landlord that has only one rental property, more than happy, we can negotiate that. But for a mega landlord that has 40 or 300 units, I do not want our tax money subsidizing that person. I want it going to healthcare. I want it paying for patients' prescriptions, which we know is cost effective. The literature shows it. They got rid of the subsidy for prescription fees, so patients are going to not get their meds and come in sicker. So they talk a good game, but the reality is, at every juncture, IT, we needed it, they canceled it. GPs, that's just insulting. GPs had literally years of data from Sapere and all these fancy consulting groups, paid for by the government, paid for by the GP practices, all aligning on the fact that they need better reimbursement than they've been getting. They needed something like 14% minimum raise in capitation to be able to take care of general practice primary care patients. This government said, we love you GPs, you're the backbone of our healthcare system. We're going to give, but we're only going to give you 4%, but you can charge the patients 7.76% more. They said, but our patients can't afford that. I said, well, that's their problem. That's your problem. We can give you 4%, even though that's less. At the time that came out, that was less than the cost of inflation. So don't tell me what Simeon Brown or Christopher Luxon or any of the coalition, Seymour, are saying. I do not care. I only care in demonstrable facts. Show me what they're doing, because I can show you a list of things they have done, which have been more expensive for this country, inefficient use of taxes, will cost us more in the long run. And so you have to say, are they stupid or are they negligent? Which one? And the reality is there's one underlying principle that I want to get to. And I've made this point before, but the idea is, if you see a bunch of things that just seem insane, why would you get rid of these prescription copay, bring back the copay? Why would you do all of these things I've been talking about? Ask yourself one question: does it benefit private corporations? And every single thing I've seen them do has. They got rid of the world's best anti-smoking laws. New Zealand had the chance to historically reduce smoking rates and save literally thousands of lives a year and reduce harm. Emphysema, lung cancer, all kinds of cancers, heart disease. It would have been massive. That law was repealed by them. Okay, this government, under urgency, as quick as they could, got rid of the anti-smoking laws. They're called smoke-free laws. You should look them up. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They canceled those laws, and shortly thereafter told Philip Morris Tobacco Company that they could have $216 million to reduce excise taxes by half so that they could sell more heated tobacco products. So I'm going to just say, sorry to bleep this, but they can go to hell. This government can go to hell for what they are doing. If you are on the side of big tobacco corporations and you are taking taxpayer money to help tobacco companies, you do not deserve a role in government. You do not deserve to be looking out for the well-being of the people if the actions you do actually harm people, patients, my patients.
Gary, I don't think anyone really knows how to respond to what you're saying.
You don't have to respond, and it shouldn't be up to you, and it shouldn't be up to my poor patients asking what they can do. People writing into me saying, can we go bang pots at Shane Retty's office? What can we march? Yeah, you can do all those things. It's wonderful. I love the support. It's not up to you to answer or to speak to it. It is up to the people making these decisions, the leaders, to be here and to front up and to answer these things. And I challenge any of them to.
That was righteous. You are justifiably angry, and all of your patients must be so lucky to have you in their corner. You're 100% right on all of this. You've linked.
Look, I'm sure I have my bad sides. I'm sure I've got people that dislike working with me. I'm sure I've made mistakes with patients and been short with them at times. Like, I'm sure, no one's a saint and nothing's perfect. But the point is, what we're facing is really bad for the country. It's bad for society, and it's bad for patients, and we need to not tolerate it anymore. I'm sorry to have interrupted you, Chewy. Sorry. Go ahead. I'll shut up now. No,
I put it in the chat of like, stand back, everybody, let Dr. Gary cook, and you cooked. Wow.
But is the thing that I don't want to be like, hey, let's all be, white knights now and shining armors. But Gary, we all are there with you, and I know, like we've said before, marching is maybe not the answer. But what is? What can we do? I mean, we can get your voice answer.
It's an answer, but it's not the answer. It's not the thing that will move the levers. There are two things that will move levers and change the trajectory that we're on in terms of essential public services and the social well-being of people in New Zealand in the face of changes that will benefit privatization, corporatization. There are only two levers I see. And yeah, you can rally, and you should. It builds community. It's good. But if you don't affect Simeon Brown's and Christopher Luxon and David Seymour's ability to get money from corporations, and their ability to get reelected, via media, you will likely lose. You will likely achieve nothing. Because if they have vast corporate donations and wealth, and they have corporate media support, the chance that you or me or my patients or their whānau will make a significant difference is vanishingly small. I'm not going to say useless. We need people to show up, but we've got to target our actions to where it counts. So I think target your actions to the politicians. Make it so that they cannot ignore the situation, and bring the fight to them. Don't suffer silently. I mean, my patients in Northland are amazing. They will wait 4.5 hours in real pain, with fractures or abdominal emergencies, or just really painful, whatever, wounds, infections, and they will still say thank you and be very appreciative, almost to a person, with very rare exceptions. They're just amazingly tolerant. But the time has come where we need to speak. Whoops.
Just give Gary a couple of seconds. It looks like he is frozen up. We need to speak. And then that was when the DPS took out his feed? Maybe the TPU.
While we're waiting for Gary, one of the things that he's suggesting is talking to our ministers and our politicians that are responsible for the health system. Of course, Simeon Brown is at the top. We have ex-associate health minister, was it Casey Costello for that one?
Yeah, because Seymour is the associate somewhere.
Oh, it looks like we've lost Gary. He is in Northland. Isn't Northland getting absolutely hammered by the weather at the moment?
Could be. I've got my phone here as well, because if he can't get back on, he'll text us. Okay. Maybe we could do a couple of those super chats just while we're waiting.
Yeah. I'll just finish my thought here. I think if you've been impacted as much as I have by what Gary's had tonight, and I mean this, he's righteously angry. He's across all of this. He's connecting the same dots that we have been connecting about what the aims that this government has for our health system, the targets that it is really trying to have, and what it's trying to pull off is just a great train robbery of our health system. So we need to put our words down in a way that is going to be taken in. Email Simeon. His details are online. He's the health minister. He needs to hear from voters about why we value our health system. We need to send the same to Aisha Verrill of Labour, so she knows how righteously angry we are about this, and that she needs to mirror that. Chloe Schwarbrick from the Greens, same thing. She needs to know we're angry. Debbie Narangapaka, Te Pāti Māori's health spokesperson, she needs to know as well. They all need to know. Because it's not good enough that we just go, it's Simeon's fault. It's all of their fault. We need this fixed.
We'll bring Gary back in because he's got back on. Gary, you're back with us.
Yeah, even my phone got sick of listening to me. It turned off. Battery died.
You were just saying we need to speak, and then you disappeared. So why don't you wrap your thoughts up and then take a minute.
So you were asking, what can we do? I was advised by a pretty smart guy that we can make it so that politicians can't ignore the public too easily. When you write a letter to them, try to bunch it up with 2 friends. If they get 1 letter from 1 person, it's meaningless. If they get 3 or more letters clustered in a week, they begin to understand there's some meat behind it. There's some motivation there. It may be a real issue in their mind. That's still assuming that there's actually not malign intent on their part to privatize and to basically help corporations make money. And yeah, so that's relying on them to be good. The other thing you can do is bring the protest to their face, bring it to their offices. The best suggestion I've heard lately is a pots and pans protest, where you show up at their office during their office hours and you make your dismay known. If you're on those waiting lists, if you're one of those people that can't get care, or their family or loved ones, show up, be loud, and bring media with you. You do not do this silently. Do not let them dismiss you. Bring media with you. And if that needs to be you in your own phone, filming it and live streaming it, so be it. But if you can get journalists there, wonderful. There are still some of them that are interested in pursuing public interest stories, even within the very corporate realm that they live in, that basically broadcasts business owners and CEOs' opinions on healthcare above those of people who've devoted their entire lives to studying healthcare management and the provision of healthcare. That's number 2. Number 3, build community. That might be, with people in your area. There are good doctors and others, nurses and allied healthcare workers around the country that are speaking up. You saw the doctors in Nelson come out strongly, showing us the truth of how their system, how bad their system is. And it didn't get this way accidentally. This is intentional underfunding. It can be fixed. Tomorrow, they could reverse the property investor tax cuts and funnel that money. Do you have any idea how much $2.9 billion is? It's enough to completely fix every doctor shortage in the country and every nurse shortage, and provide free public dental care for every New Zealander. It is enough to do that. That is the quantity of money, the immense pile of gold that has been given to property investors from your tax money. And of course, you won't hear the taxpayers union talk about this at all, ever. Not once, because obviously they're not really a taxpayers union and they're not really in support of taxpayers, nor are they a union. They're a political operative that won't talk about this, but someone's got to. And so, don't let them say the money's not there. It is there. It could be redistributed today to the groups that need it. But it's a choice. So those are some options. You've got to affect their ability to get reelected, and that's about bad publicity for them, because Simeon does these little speeches and then disappears, and every one of those is a little burst of news that he's getting free. We can't let it happen. People need to be showing up at his speaking engagements and speaking truth to power. This is the time where people can confront him with actual facts and reality. So it's got to affect their ability to get reelected and their ability to get corporate donations, which they are really good at getting for obvious reasons. And you've got to reduce the amount of money that they're able to get from corporates in the pursuit of a stream of untruths, half-truths, mistruths, and lies. So we need to do more of this. More of what you're doing, I think, will make a difference.
Well, Gary, if we can help with hindering them getting re-elected, that's kind of our set. That's our expert set. We can get involved in that. Happy to for the next, what is it? Not even 18 months anymore, Chewy.
Yeah. One of the things you said there, Gary, is clusters of letters and emails arriving all at once sends a hell of a message. There are 800 people watching us right now. Wow. There are 800 people that are deathly concerned about the state of our health system and the slash and burn corporate raider vandalism that this government is raining down on it, and it's going to affect all of us. It's not going to care whether you voted for National or ACT. It's going to come to your door as well. So if you can hear me, and more to the point, if you can hear Gary, then you need to put these thoughts in an email tonight, tomorrow, end of the week. That's our homework assignment this week, is to let Simeon Brown know that this is not unnoticed and will not fly.
And you know what? If you're going to do that, blind carbon copy bighearingnews@gmail.com. And we'd like to see if people are doing it. So BCC, bighearingnews@gmail.com when you send your emails off. And if you ever get confused with their names, it's real easy. We use it all the time. It's first name dot surname at parliament.govt.nz. That's how you get them. Blind carbon copy us, and we'll share some of them. Happy to share some of them on the show.
And one thing I'll put out there is I try to talk about facts and back this stuff up with links, but I can't put a bibliography or a reference section on this conversation today. But I have written about all of this stuff before on Substack. And Substack is it's like Twitter, but not for rabid neo-Nazis. It's kind of like a thinking person's site where you can read longer journalism and take some more time and learn things a bit more in depth and interact. And I have learned a lot from healthcare workers and patients around the country. And I try to put some of that on the Dr. Gary Payinda .substack.com. I'm not even sure if that's what it is, but if you just put in my name and Substack, you'll be able to read stuff. And I try to post all of this stuff on there so that it lives on and that people can reference it, because I'm not expecting that people can memorize all this stuff. But at least it's a repository for people to go to if they need to. And I talk about not just healthcare, but there's more to this than just that. Privatization goes deeper than just healthcare.
If people are watching on Facebook or YouTube in particular, your Substack is in the show notes as well. So people can just go to the show notes and find the link there as well. Hey, Gary, thank you so much for being with us. I don't think any of us, including you, knew that we'd be chatting for an hour, but we are more than happy to, especially when on other outlets, they give you literal seconds. This is what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to give the people who know the space they need to tell the story. And I think most in the chat, me and Chewy would agree, that has been you in spades tonight, sir.
I'm sorry for taking up an hour of your show's time.
No, don't be sorry. I'm saying it's a good thing, Gary. It's actually what we're here for. We want to keep talking until the conversation's finished for this night, but I'm sure we will be talking to you again as this conversation continues in other areas.
Hopefully. All right. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Chewy.
All right, Gary. All the best.
Keep up the good work.
Yep, it definitely will do that.
You
Catch
too,
you.
mate.
Yeah. I'm sure there's lots of reflections in the chat, Chewy. Is there anything you want to particularly get to?
Oh, look, straight off the bat, I just want to go, I don't think either of us, Pat, really knew what Gary was going to unleash tonight.
No, not really.
I'm floored. So I'm going to power through the super chats because you guys have been very generous tonight. Lots and lots of comments. Obviously, the first one is pointing out that we were late. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. We didn't know. Mr. Arvid's $5 super chat. Shout out to our healthcare pros who take their job seriously and with care. Had my MRI under general anesthetic today. Went perfectly. Wow. Respect to the professionals. Kiwi Bird, money for rat and backhoe traps. So the backhoe traps are especially very important for Otago at the moment. Kim, I have worked in hospitals for 23 years. No SMO I've worked with has ever taken a sabbatical.
Wow.
Simeon, doctors get too much. Australia, we are hiring.
I'm shocked by that fact out of that news article that basically a scale A, whatever you want to do, most senior of doctor gets paid less than a year one specialist in New South Wales. I mean, I don't think people in service industries, I don't think people teach for money. I don't think people doctor for money. It's sort of a byproduct rather than the reason. But I still also think, and we've said this before, if you could attract every doctor in the world by paying them $1 million a year, and you'd attract no doctors by paying them $10 a year, where is that line Where does that stop to become a fair wage comparative to what they can get 3 hours away, which will then also, solve our doctor shortage crisis that we aren't laying at the feet of any one government, but has been a systemic problem for a while. It's the world we live in. Pay gets attached to a job, and it's one of the things that employers have to deal with. And government, you are employers, and your employees are leaving you because they can get a better gig elsewhere.
It's a reflection of the time you spent getting ready for that job. It's a reflection of how hard that job is. It is a reflection of the responsibility that you have. It's like, I don't understand why Simeon is going, these greedy doctors, for the hours that they have put in.
Yeah.
For the fact that if they don't bring their A game every day, it is life or death.
Literally.
And I don't think it's any surprise that when the people that do these jobs are under pressure, we start to see misdiagnosis, cock-ups in operating. All of these things are because people are undervalued, under pressure, and understaffed. Gary makes the point, making this a one-term government is a matter of life or death.
Mm.
Angela says, my daughter, an oral health therapist graduating this year, no jobs have been advertised in Auckland for 18 months. There's a huge need for dental nurses. There's only one for the whole of South Canterbury.
Wow.
Want better equitable public health? Vote for Dr. Gary. Thanks, Wooming. Kiwi Bib, Simeon the rat cut Dr. Gary's connection.
Well, hang on. I got a joke coming. You ready? This is a big joke. What about Simeon the back hoe that cut the connection? See what I did there? It was like the hoe. Sorry, it wasn't a joke.
You heard it here first. TPU are the ops. Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole bunch of we haven't even talked about Taxpayers Union and Free Speech Union and their dirty politics and local government lately. There's just so much going on at the moment, and it's all it is a training experience for us, because these things that we've talked about, they are ramping up. We have local body elections this year. We have national elections next year. People are working their plans.
Yeah, and remember, ACT said they want to get involved in local body. It's coming, people. It's coming.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't underline this enough. If there's one thing that comes out of tonight, if there's one thing you take away, if there is something that Gary has said that has shocked you, if it has just sunk in this moment, I don't care if you've been oblivious to this. If you realize tonight how important this is, get out the laptop. Look up Simeon Brown's email address. Let him know.
Simeon.brown@parliament.govt.nz. Every MP, first name dot surname @parliament.govt.nz. Look, I'm going to tangent a little bit, but it kind of goes to the same sort of places. We have these burning bushes on the hill that tell us these things. Gary is one of these people. Another one of those people who we know is a part of telling us what's going on is Craig Rennie. Craig Rennie has a brand new podcast starting tomorrow. In Craig Rennie's podcast, I'll give you a bit of a teaser of the headline. He shows with his colleague Ed Miller about the margin that electricity companies are making at the moment. Let me show you a graph that's going to be in tomorrow's episode. Can you see? So the kind of brownish line going through the filled in gap, that is the margin. And as you can see, the margin doesn't change at whatever price dollars it's going to be. What that means is at the end of the year, you see this gap here, see how the margin hasn't changed from here? That means what they revealed and what they found when looking at the numbers, that there was a time or a period last year where for every dollar that you spent, Chewy, that I spent, that anyone spent on electricity, 8 cents was for the electricity and 92 cents was profit for the company. Have a listen to this little clip.
So there's 4 lines here to look at. The top purple line is the revenue. This is weekly data, right? So each point you can see there's the revenue starts at around about $350 million a week in revenue. Then under that, there's a blue line. That's the costs. And between that is the shaded purple section is the margin. The interesting thing that we can see is that the margin pretty much doesn't change. It's pretty much consistent over the whole period between about $60 to $90 million a week in margin that is being generated by these companies. And you can see in that early period that when the prices are high, that the margin is a relatively small proportion of total revenue. That's that dotted line, and that's measured on the right-hand side. So you can see that by sort of early August, the margin has fallen to around about 10%. But then when the rains come and the gas is procured, revenue collapses, falls right down to, you know, about $100 to $200 million a week. But the margin stays exactly the same. And as we move forward through the year, right till the end of the year, and the very final week of the year, that you can see that dotted line wiggles its way upwards until it reaches the end. And in the final week of the year, the margin received by electricity companies reaches 92% of revenue.
So just to be clear for our audience, you're saying this data is showing essentially of every dollar of electricity sold during that last week, 92 cents is profit, is margin.
Yeah, that's right.
So there you go. There's some information from another one of our burning bushes, our lights on the hill, Craig Rennie. That episode will be out tomorrow morning. I do apologize about my camera. I have no idea what's going on. I'm getting very close to throwing it across the room. That'll be coming out first thing in the morning. Unless you work all night, when you wake up, it will be available. It is right now available. At least the show is, not that episode, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and it will be, if you're watching this on YouTube, it will be on this YouTube channel. So if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed yet, now would be a time to hit that subscription icon. I don't even know what you're supposed to say. As we approach 17,000 subs, and you'll get BHN, you will get Locked Out with Craig Rennie, trying to think about that. You'll get the Leftist Collective, and you will get 1, possibly 2 brand new podcasts in the pipeline, which we're not quite prepared to announce yet. So they are coming up as well. Chewy. I still kind of feel a bit deflated, the wind out of the sails after that last conversation, but we've said we're going to do a couple of other things. The story on One News tonight about the government cutting again has hit the Reserve Bank. I believe they needed $100 million operating, and the government has said you can have $750 million. So that's only a 25% reduction, or $250 million, meaning the Reserve Bank is not going to be able to operate as it would like to be able to operate, because of course bigger government entity, according to the Tories, is bad government entity. Not how many people do we need to run this, but bigger is badder. There you go. There's an alliteration for you, Mr. Luxon. Use that one.
The Reserve Bank is having its funding slashed. The bank initially requested just over $1 billion from the government for the next 5 years, but that's been reduced to $750 million. Finance Minister Nicola Willis says staffing numbers at the bank have rapidly increased in recent years.
The advice I received from the Treasury was that it included increase in functions such as communications and human resources that went beyond what...
So that would be the skill set of looking after the people within that organisation, human resources and communications, telling the public, you and I, about things that we need to go that's happening with the Reserve Bank. They're the things that Nikki No-Boats is about to say we can get rid of them now.
Went beyond what they believed was necessary.
The PSA says highly skilled people will lose their jobs as a result.
And when highly skilled people lose their jobs, what it means is they either move offshore, they find themselves other employment, and we lose them. We will not get them back again. Very quick story, Chewy, but there is the latest slash and burn by this government. Any thoughts?
This is unrelenting.
Yeah.
These guys are doing the damage because they know that they may not have another term.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they've got to cut off, they've got to cut everywhere, and they've got to cut deep. Now, for whoever gets in and replaces these guys, they need to do the fixing as fast as these guys have set in the rot.
Well, it was particularly interesting to hear the government say today that this $20 billion for building bluer hospitals or whatever it was is going to be over the next 7 budgets. Okay, so you've got 2, and if you're no longer there, you're committing the other government to the next 5. When you got in, you cancelled everything they'd committed you guys to, but you're committing, if you don't get in again, at least 5 to them. Now, look, obviously we are pro and for health infrastructure, no question whatsoever. If I just turn my camera off for the night, because it's just really annoying me. Can I do an avatar? I'll do an avatar, see what happens. No, it's not going to let me do it.
I was just expecting a blue pat with a tail and a loincloth.
It's not letting me do it. Anyway, I forget what I was saying. Oh, we are for the infrastructure, like health infrastructure in general. But we're also, as we've done with this government, holding them accountable to how they held the last government. And so therefore, when you cancel everything the last government did, and you're spreading something out over 7 budgets, what do you expect the next government to do? Just abide by what you want when you wouldn't abide by what they wanted? How's that going to work? I don't know. It's still horseshit to me.
So one of the things that I was looking around for while Dr. Gary was cooking was this. This is the World Health Organization's graph of health expenditure compared to GDP in New Zealand. And there's one thing that I want to point out is that between 2009, maybe generously 2012, our health spend went backwards. And then obviously there's a COVID spike, and this goes up to 2022. But if you're wondering why our hospitals are falling apart, that might be why.
So when did that start?
This little dip. So this graph goes from 2000, we're spending 7.47% of GDP.
Yeah.
And then up and up and up, a little bit down and up and up and up. And then it kind of just basically starts sort of static and then going backwards.
So is that John Key? Sorry, I can't see the numbers. Is that John Key where it starts to head down?
Okay, so 9.62% of GDP, 2009.
Okay, so that's John Key.
Yep. 2009. Little bit of a bump there, but then it's
so
all the
that
way
means
down.
The first third of that graph is Helen Clark. The second third of that graph is John Key. When it goes back up again is Jacinda Ardern.
2017.
Yep, there you go. Jacinda
is when it started turning around, and then we got to 2020, and it's pretty static. But this graph only goes up to 2022.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not going down, and it's pretty massive amounts. Obviously, to do with COVID, they've got a lot going on there. Yeah.
The other thing I want to show you before we move on, Pat, because I had a lot of spare time. We weren't bouncing questions off each other. We were just getting out of Gary's way. I thought I would do a little visual presentation for people that maybe came in halfway through or maybe just didn't know what was going on tonight. So
the ones that joined in and had fear in their eyes, those guys.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on? So I've managed to condense everything that Gary said into one image, which is challenging, but I think I've got it done. Yeah.
You made that while we were doing it.
Yeah, graphics design is my passion, as you can see. This was all done in MS Paint, but I think it's pretty accurate.
Oh, that's funny. A couple of, and as you can see, I'm going to go Avatar tonight. I figured it out because I'm annoyed with the camera going, I'm off on. I'm going to get a new battery for it or something. Baba says, I'm not like you are. You missed the start of a good one, Beba. Arvid says the only answer is wealth tax. Labor can actually blame National bad. They did it to themselves. All right. Kind of feel like there's a part of me which goes, maybe we should just put off the Douglas Murray story till tomorrow night, because it's kind of completely feels like it's coming from completely left field now that we've kind of gone thematically through.
I think we have one topic tonight because it's been glorious.
Yeah.
And it really, like, glorious is the wrong word I'm realizing there. Righteous.
Well, I mean,
I'm going to stick with righteous.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think Pat sounds extra radio without a camera. Hubba huge. Yeah, no, I think we'll leave it. I think we'll leave it tonight. The Douglas Murray conversation is a bit of a culture war conversation. It's a bit of fun as well, showing what an absolute pantsing he got on Joe Rogan, and then Dave Smith, who pantsed him, has gone on some other shows to explain what he did wrong and the hypocrisy that came out from it. It's an amusing story. It just doesn't feel the right space to do it tonight. So we'll do it tomorrow night. I think, Chewy. I think we'll do it tomorrow night. All right. Well, I guess we'll just also say a huge thanks to our patrons, because we haven't done that officially tonight. Thanks for being a part of what we do. We really appreciate what you do, and we cannot do this without you. Thanks. There's been a patron sign up tonight. You guys help us keep the lights on. As you know, last week we got nominated for a New Zealand Radio and Podcast Award for Best Independent Podcast, and being quite true in this, that we've said the patrons are the people who enable us to get that through, because this is basically a full-time job this is a 1.5 time job spread between sort of 3 of us, if not 4. So thanks for helping us keep the lights on and helping us spend some time putting this stuff together as best we can. The other thing, because people have mentioned it again today, the merch store is open and people have been talking about tax wealth more. So why don't we have a look at the hoodie that's out at the moment, which we have some of still. Tax work less, tax wealth more. That is in there. Also a reminder that the cost of our t-shirts has increased, and we are able to eat that cost for a little while, but there's going to be another increase in the next couple of months, and when that happens, t-shirts will probably need to go up. Maybe we will eat some of it. Maybe they'll go up to 58 or something, not 60. We'll try and eat a little bit of it. But if you want to get them at the best price we're ever going to be, now would be a good time to get it. Stickers are there as well. Sorry, I haven't put the new stickers on yet. We do have 8 stickers now, just because today with no internet has set my life into a tailspin. I'll try and get that done for you tomorrow. BHN shop. I know I said store, bhnshop.nz, if you want to be a part of the merch crew. And remember, we do I should say this. We do have reintroduced the rainbow buffer because people asked for it. It's in sage and sky blue. This is a drop, which means you order them first, and I order them on Friday. So I will be putting in an order on Friday for this week's orders, and then next Friday I'll be putting in the order for the following week's order. So this is only going to be there for 2 weeks, right? This sage and sky blue. There's the sky blue. It looks very realistic being on his chest, doesn't it, Show? It doesn't look like that's been superimposed one bit. It looks perfect. Not at all. And if you do want them, bhnshop.nz, the rainbow ones are only going to be there till next Friday, as in Friday week, and I'll order them both on Friday, and you'll get them the week after. It is outrageous that Pat's not up to date with the website. I agree wholeheartedly. All right, team. I think that's it for us, actually, Chewy. And before anyone gives me arse over it, I don't know what happens when the closing credits sound goes down. Don't ask me. We'll ask Jason at some stage, and he'll solve the problem, because it'll be a conflict somewhere. I don't know anything about it. I am a moron. You want to wrap up with anything, Chewy? It's been quite a big sort of conversational night, hasn't it?
Yeah, and no, it's a big, heavy conversation, because I think it's big, heavy consequences.
Big, heavy news.
Big, heavy news. Yeah. Yeah. No, get in the game, guys. This is super important.
Blind carbon copy us anything you send to your politicians. Look, I actually think, Chewy, you said a good thing. Maybe we'll try and get Aisha on because, obviously we can poke the borax, as they say, poke the bone at National and the coalition at the moment. But for this to be fixed, it's going to take all of them. It's going to take Labour leading the next coalition and actually doing the right thing. So we've got to hold their feet to the fire as well. I think it's that's an absolute. That's what I would say anyway. At least anyway. All right. All right.
Sounds good.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war puff to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what you impact. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, two nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow night for another edition of Big Hairy News. I still haven't spoken to the kids for Friday night. Obviously, Friday's Easter Friday, whether they want to do a show or not, that'll be up to them. Me and Chewy will definitely take next Monday night off. We'll do a best of for you. But up until then, we'll catch you tomorrow night for another live edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo for me, Chewy.
And I'll see you later, I guess. Yes. Yes.